We will continue with the same topic with Team 2, and the next panel will be discussing the importance of financial cybersecurity. And our speakers for the next panel are Mr. Rami Aldamati. He will be a speaker and moderator as well. And the speakers who will join him on the stage will be Mr. Rasul Yeshilyurt, Mr. Haytham Almir, and Dr. Melissa Sassi.
Okay. Thank you so much again for having us in this great event. And inshallah, we will not take a lot of time because we are before lunch. We will make cybersecurity more fun, inshallah. Yeah, thank you for our estimate speakers with us, Dr. Melissa, Mr. Haytham, Mr. Rasul. It's our pleasure to have you with this, inshallah, great panel and discussion. As we know that FinTech cybersecurity impact is not just impacting the money, it's impacting the people data, the consumer trust, the vision of the company itself, maybe shutdowning the company if there is a small single breach is already happening. So as financial service providers, either banks or fintechs, startup companies, anything, they are obligated to protect their customer data as a first priority for them, mainly. So what can fintech company can do to prevent these type of cyber attacks or threat attacks? Cyber attacks is common topics today in all the news. Every day we hear about small or big breach is happening, either in the financials, in the telco, in government, everywhere. And it is mainly because it's being connected to some emerging technologies or new technologies. Definitely the attackers also, they are using these technology against of the, maybe to reach to their objectives. And since we are talking financials, definitely the money is there. So let me start with Mr. Rasul from there. What do you think, what is the hottest cybersecurity fintech trends that we have these days?
Okay. First of all, thank you. Thanks for this invitation, and also for the attendees who are very keen to stay in the hall. And this is Mr. Rasul from Turkey, from Prosen, which is a company leading for the digital security and designing hardware and software products to secure the data and the transactions. And when we come to your question, what's the trend in the fintech side for the cybersecurity? Actually, it's the application security, the most critical point, because when we think about the fintechs or the neobanks or the digital banks, the interface between our users and the entrepreneurs or the companies is the applications. And when we say the application, it's mostly referred to the mobile application, because nowadays we are using our mobile devices more than our laptops or desktops. Maybe we are not talking about the desktops. Definitely. And we are just designing some web portals to give some information, not to be an interface for our customers or for our users. And we are pushing them to download our Android or iOS apps to interact with us, to use our services. And in aspect of this, the most critical path or the most critical part is the application, mobile application security, especially.
Great. Mr. Haytham, why we should consider cybersecurity from day one when we open fintech startup company or we think about doing this? Why cybersecurity?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the invitation.
Okay.
And I'm glad to be part of this panel. So I'm Haytham Almir from Tunisia. So I'm doing cybersecurity for 20 years now and managing Keystone, which is a cybersecurity company focusing mainly on the financial sector. So we work a lot with the banks mainly and most of the actors in the financial sector in the region, in Africa mainly. And we try to help them to answer to some questions in terms of risk, in terms of security program, in terms of handling incidents and fraud. And starting from maybe 5 to 6 years ago, we started to have some requests from banks mainly, asking us to help them to integrate with the new, let's say, third-party service providers, companies trying to develop applications and services for banks. And the banks, in the beginning, they're a little bit afraid of integrating with the new systems because they used to integrate with the, let's say, standard technologies with some kind of trust. But now they are dealing with small companies, local actors, trying to develop those applications and integrate. So we were asked to help them to assess, to evaluate, and to provide recommendations before integrating with those companies. And then we started to discover FinTech. And we started to work with them and to see the way they are working, they are developing their systems, and trying to find solutions for them in order to protect themselves. So at that moment, we discovered that there is two types of FinTech. Those who consider cybersecurity as a business need, and those who consider cybersecurity as a phase in their development, which came generally at the end of, before delivering the product. And here, we found a very big gap between those two categories of FinTech. So those who consider cybersecurity as a business need, they really understand that they have a lot of sensitive data they are dealing. Their business depends on the data and the trust within their ecosystem. The trust should be maintained with their customers, first of all, with the banks, with the investors, because no investor will give money to a company with a risk to be non-compliant with regulation, for example. No banks will deal with the FinTech while they know that there is a risk on their data and their customer data, and also no customer will subscribe to a service within a company known as selling their data or exposing their data. So this is very important by considering that cybersecurity is a business need and it's a business requirement for a FinTech. For the other categories here, we saw a lot of companies struggling in order to find solutions because they did not consider the security from the beginning. And before delivering, they did some kind of assessment, and they discovered that they have a big problems sometimes. Some of the problems need to redesign the system, and the cost generally is very high compared to those who are considering the cybersecurity in the beginning. So today, most of the FinTech we are dealing with, we help them to have, first of all, a good understanding of the risk. The data they are handling are very sensitive, and their business depends directly from this data and from the trust that should be ensured toward their customers and the banks they are dealing with. And now we see that they are really evolving. They are developing new processes, new development approaches in order to integrate the cybersecurity, because now they understand that those data are very valuable for them. Those access provided by banks like APIs are very important to keep secure and to protect also the data and the assets belonging to the banks and to the customers. And we are seeing now more engagement from different FinTech in order to integrate the cybersecurity in their whole process, and especially the software development life cycle before delivering and starting from the design and from the requirements.
Great, thank you so much. Ms. Milicia, regarding from the privacy, data security, and the breach, why it is considered a major for the consumers? Why they should consider this as a part of dealing with FinTech applications or something like this?
So I think a few different things. One, if I put my hat on as a consumer, I don't want my personally identifiable information in the hands of nefarious characters. I don't want my, sensitive data, whether that's, banking detail or, insurance history or, and I'm kind of relating this to a few different scenarios beyond just FinTech, medical records. I don't want that on the dark web. I may not even want my boss at work to, see these things. It's very sensitive. And I think as companies are, FinTechs or banks are looking to move to the cloud, I think it is incumbent upon the industry to look and say, all right, what's the difference between operational assurance and technical assurance? And what I mean by that is, as companies are moving, or as banks are moving into the cloud, all cloud providers except for IBM, and I'm not an IBMer anymore, but I'm saying this with a fact that if you look at how data is encrypted throughout the life cycle of that data, whether it's being collected, stored, transmitted, analyzed, what's happening with that data, it's for the most part being encrypted everywhere except for when it's being analyzed.
Nice.
However, with the IBM cloud, it's encrypted there. So I think when we all talk about what does it mean to protect sensitive data, we really need to think about going beyond operational assurance, which is saying, I'm not going to touch your data, I'm not going to use it for nefarious purposes, and also think about who owns the keys or holds the keys to that data. Because I don't know about you, again, I don't want my data to end up in the wrong hands. And I'm not sure that any regulations around the world, whether it's GDPR or anything else, go far enough to even talk about the concept of technical assurance versus operational assurance. And again, it's meaning a policy that says you can't do something versus technology that prohibits you from doing something.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense, sure. Mr. Rasul, challenges and how we can solve it out.
Yeah.
You talk about the cloud,
Yes.
first of all. So what others we can have and how it can be sorted out in terms of security and compliance.
Actually, Brother Hatem mentioned we are building some trust because we are the new game players. We are the fintechs, digital banks or neobanks, and we are trying to convince the possible users not to use some traditional banks and come and use our services. And we are trying to build some digital trust or digital reputation over there. And we should show our respect to our users because they are our main stakeholders. And how we can show our respect to them? We can show our respect to give them some insurance. We are not touching your data as Doctor mentioned. Okay. During the collection of your data and during the analysis or during the processing and at every point of your data in our system, it's insecure. How we can do this? We need to use this is the proven technology, and today's proven technology is the encryption. You need to encrypt the data, and you need to manage your keys. Starting from the application, the mobile application, and coming to the IT infrastructure side, and if you will share that data after getting the approval from your customers with the other third parties, you need to manage also encryption and key management, that kind of things. And this should start from design, because you couldn't fix it after you finished and developed everything, and then you couldn't come and say, okay, I want to make it secure. Yeah. This is not possible.
From day one, you need.
Yeah, from day one, from thinking. Yeah, by design, we need to put the security at the number one, because if we are saying that we are the new players in the new digital life, new digital world, we are the digital banks, we are the digital companies, fintechs. We born as a digital, and then if we are underlying the digital, then we need to think about the digital security. And it's very clear that digital security is not an option today.
Yes.
It's a must.
It's a must. It's need to be done by design, as you mentioned. Great, Mr. Haitham. How to protect the data, a part of our design, how we consider that we need to keep our system updated, we need to consider some factors when we build our projects.
The cybersecurity is not a project, it's not an action, it's a whole process, and it's a continuous process, it's a daily work.
Yes.
Today, if we see cyber criminals and hacking group, they are evolving very fast, they are innovating in their technology. Every day they have new techniques, new vulnerabilities they are discovering. So they are very, very, very active. From the other side, if we want to protect our systems, we need at least to be in the same rhythm. So at least to understand what they are preparing, what they are doing, their techniques, in order to protect ourselves. So the key thing, I think, that security should be considered as a daily job. As I said, it's not a project. For that, there is many approaches that we can consider. One of the most important approaches, for example, the security by design. If we are trying to build a new system, it's important to start from the identification of the requirements to the design, to the programming, to the delivery. Security should be considered during the whole process. The proactive approach also is very important. So if we set up systems working 24/7, we have customers from all around the world accessing to our system, we are in the obligation to monitor our system, to detect any alert, to analyze any suspicious event, to maintain the system updated. Every day we have new vulnerabilities touching all the system we are using, mainly operating systems, web applications. So we need to have processes to maintain our system updated, to have our system monitored, and to be ready to respond to any kind of incident. So this approach today is very important to be in a level of to build a capacity to respond to those cyber attacks we are seeing today. Another thing which is important also, for example, we can talk about the zero trust approach also. So our systems do not trust by default any user, any data, any equipment, any IP address. So we need to check, to verify, to identify, and to authenticate any access to our system. So here, there is no one solution to protect our system. So there is approaches that we need to adopt. There is a technology also that we need to deploy. We need also processes. If we want to maintain our system updated, we need to develop and to write our process and to apply our process. And also, there is one of the key factors is people. We need to have people with the right expertise, with the capacity in order to maintain our system and to protect against those evolving threats. To finish, I think another point which is very important, we need to understand. People need to understand. As I said, when we talked with the decision makers today, they consider cybersecurity as a technical issue. Today it's not. It's a business issue.
Something complementary.
Yeah, our business is at risk. If we want to sustain, if we want to protect our business, I think we need to have a minimum understanding of the cybersecurity. What are the threats? How we can protect ourselves? What does it cost? What can happen if I am attacked? I think any decision maker need to have a good understanding of these questions, of all the concepts around cybersecurity. And then there is a lot of approaches. There is a lot of things to do. And I think understanding the cybersecurity issue is the key thing, especially for decision makers.
Definitely, and I will add also, they need also to understand how to respond, how to recover. I believe this is also a major, because data is online and live. I don't want to lose the customer trust in this, so I need to recover very fast. So I have to have my backup plans, maybe.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's very important because we will protect our systems, but we will assume that maybe one day we will get hacked, maybe one day we'll face a security breach. So at that moment, we need to be ready to respond very fast, effective, and restore our system rapidly.
Cool. Thank you so much. Doctor, as there's a lot of FinTech business models there in the ideas, so what is the important to work with the trusted partners or expert partners in this domain, especially? What will help me? Especially in the term of the security and maybe the sustainability of the business and whatever is required.
Well, I think I loved a couple of the things, or a lot of the things that both of you said, and I'll call out a few buzzwords. So zero trust, security by design, and I think unless you're working with experts that are constantly living and breathing, individuals who understand. And it's about people, process, technology, education. But I think we can't forget that a lot of challenges that happen when it comes to cybersecurity threats happen from the inside. It's not just about someone from the outside coming in from country A, B, or C. it's often that either someone's doing something on purpose or on accident, right? And so I think it's really important for whether you're a bank or a FinTech or whatever, to truly understand not just what the rules and regulations are, but also think about putting yourself into the shoes of the customer and think, if you were a customer and your data was breached, how would you feel? And so I think a lot of times when we talk about data protection, privacy, security, we think about it as adhering to regulatory requirements, when in reality, it's kind of woven into your strategy as a company, but also your corporate social responsibility strategy in the sense that it's about doing right by your customers. So if you're going to be customer obsessed, if you're looking to gain access to new markets or revenue streams, you got to think about what is right for your customer. And this is one of the things that I believe will come from, not only working with trusted partners, whether that's your cloud vendor or, consultants or whatever it is, that you're doing, but working with, trusted partners that really understand and maybe go above and beyond your expertise.
Great, thank you. Mr. How we can implement cybersecurity into the product itself? When I develop my startup, my product, my services, how can I make it part of it?
Okay. Actually, maybe at the first stage, we should understand we couldn't reach any 100% secure IT infrastructure or company.
100%.
There is a risk or there is a probability at one day, one time, or some time, there should be some cybersecurity problems and some incidents. And to avoid to this kind of problems, we need to invest, but we should be ready for that specific time, and we should prepare our incident response plans, risk plans, that kind of things. And the second thing, this is my personal opinion, there is a timeline. Okay, in this timeline, the security, it's like a window, and it's moving during that timeline. We are trying to put our products or systems in that range, and to protect or trying to be at that specific range, and to do that, to reach this, successful journey as a for the cybersecurity part, we should invest not only products, not only technology, and not only people, not only our operational excellence. We should think about all of these parts in a portfolio, and we need to think about also the user experience. We shouldn't build a product which is very secure but not usable. There is no meaning.
Yep.
If we want to reach some customers, there should be some balance. We need to think about the regulations. Yes, in the first panel, Mr. Baisam mentioned for the banking, there is a Basel in all over the world. But for FinTech, maybe there is no international regulations. But we know that there are personal data regulations and some local regulations and etc. We need to comply the regulations. And we need to think about our reputation, because we are trying to build a reputation with the new generations to use our products. And we should show our respect to them, trying to secure their data and trying to show them our respect to their data, to their privacy. And this should start from day one by design, using with some professional expertise, some accredited products and some accredited technologies, and getting also some services. Because we are the digital companies, we are the startups, we are starting with some limited capital, and we couldn't throw the money for each part. Yes. And then we need to manage this capital, to manage this money, we need to use some cloud as a service solutions, rather than developing everything in-house. We are trying to share our knowledge and try to increase the links between the competitors or the stakeholders, the partners, companies in the ecosystem.
Great, thank you so much. Mr. Haytham, when we talk about customer experience, we want to reduce the complexity of the program. In this case, how we make sure cybersecurity is part of this equation, because we want to make it much faster, easy to access, clicks, couple of clicks, and that's it. How the reducing the complexity will help in cybersecurity?
Yeah, the complexity of any system increase the risk. If we are using multiple technologies, we need many people to manage those technologies, which become more complicated. Rich systems with many functionalities are much more complex to manage, to understand. So to answer this question, generally what we have three factors, let's say. It's a kind of triangle, and with 3 points: functionality, ease of use, and security. And in this triangle, we need to put a point inside. And this point should be a combination of these 3 factors. Inside the triangle, if the point is very close to functionality, we are much more far from security and ease of use. So when we get closer to the ease of use, our system will be weaker in terms of functionality and more difficult to secure. And if we get closer to the security, our system are hard to access, we will have less functionality. So here the answer is it's a combination between those 3 points. If our systems are complex, it will be harder to secure those systems. So we need to design a system with a combination of ease of use, functionalities, and security. As you said, increasing the complexity of any system will apport new risks and more difficulties to secure those systems.
Great, thank you so much. Doctor, awareness and education. It is important only for your teammates and the startup, or customers, consumers, users, and how we can achieve this?
So I think that education and training is important, not only as an employee or a steward of data, but also as consumers. Because I think we all are at risk every minute of the day to accidentally make mistakes ourselves. And I say make mistakes, obviously sometimes that stuff is on purpose. While I'm a big fan of training and education and think it's important for everyone, regardless of, where you sit in an organization, I also think that, FinTechs and banks alike could be doing more to protect sensitive data by looking at technology. I'm happy to talk with anyone after this about some options rather than use this as a commercial. But again, I think companies need to go much further than they are right now to, again, think about technical assurance versus operational assurance.
Cool. Thank you so much. I would like to open maybe the questions from the audience for our estimate panels. If anyone have any questions, would like to ask. No questions?
I think there is one.
Okay. Can you please hand over the mic for the gentleman?
Hello. Hi, my name is Walid Al-Hudari. I'm ICT Director of Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Libya, Special Advisor to the Ministry of Finance. My question is a little broad, and it's kind of hard to ask this one. We talk about SDGs a lot. It's something that was defined as many goals by the UN General Assembly in 2015, so we're moving ahead until we get to 2030. My question really is, with all the obstacles that we have, privacy is basically a human right, and I heard the term security by design, when you have security certificates with different levels and you have different keys, public, you really can't do much and move much. Once you have done something, it is there to stay. So the hardest part is really to plan and to coordinate. Now, zero trust, that's also a good thing. But what about the changes that are ahead that sometimes we don't want to acknowledge, like cryptocurrencies. Some people are trying to bury their head in the sands, regulate it. Other countries think, that it's an opportunity, and when their economy is not going well, they're just jumping and they're adopting it, like Salvador. And you also have some changes that we don't know when it's going to happen. Quantum computing, AI, those are going to be major changes. Most international actors, governments, are actually trying to, hold that. Now, the question I'm trying to put here is, all of this is happening with some best practices. I heard like many things that are basically best practices, but there is no such thing as like a global coordination. Like, for example, if you go into the UN system, we have something called the IASC, Interagency Standing Committee. They regulate all humanitarian work that happens in the world, and everybody has a section, and they know what, where, and they have basically a roadmap. Why don't we have something like that, or can we have something like that in the financial world? Like something that would say, hey, we have some changes that are dangerous, like, WFP, they say, we're gonna have maybe some famine, some issues with food 5-6 years ahead. Let's try to work some inaction. Like, why don't we have a roadmap that can be coordinated internationally? Obviously, this is something that touches money, so a lot of people are gonna wanna make money of it, but why don't we have the equivalent of a nonprofit that coordinates worldwide these changes ahead, which there is very lack of cooperation, except, like really good efforts like the ones we have here. But I'm just saying, why don't we have the equivalent? And that could probably help us out. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Comment?
Maybe I think it exists already. I can tell you about an experience in Tunisia. So we have the Banking Association established a computer emergency response team in 2016. With the main goal is to ensure a kind of coordination among the financial sector and information sharing. And then this financial CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team, joined an international network, which is called the FIRST, Forum of Incident Response and Security Team. It's an international forum with, I think, about 400 teams from all around the world. The main goal is also to share information. Recently, they are also joining the FS-ISAC, which is the Financial Sector Information Sharing and Analysis Center, which is, let's say, the biggest group in the world working on information sharing around security for the financial sector. There is also another initiative in Europe. It's a kind of network of financial CERT in the region. I think this is, we are going into this direction. We are establishing those networks because now we know that information sharing is very important. If I am attacked and there is other people who can share the same experience, share with me some information about the attack and how to block the attack and how to prevent, it's very important today. So creating those kind of network is very important. Collaborating also to prevent and to respond to cyber attack and also cyber fraud today is very important. We are all convinced of the importance of information sharing. That's why now we are seeing those kind of networks, professional networks, evolving and emerging to allow financial institutions to share information and to collaborate together to protect, prevent, and also to respond to cyber attacks.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're saying that we are converging slowly to this cooperation. It's kind of getting materialized.
Yeah, which is very important. Maybe I think during such a forum, it's a good opportunity maybe to raise those kind of issues and to discuss, and maybe you can come up with the new initiatives with this forum to create new network, a new environment for information sharing and for collaboration to fight against cyber attacks and cyber threats that we are seeing, and they are evolving today in a very dangerous way.
Great, thank you so much. Any more questions to add? If there is more questions. Okay. No more.
Maybe I add something at this question.
Sure.
Please, sir. This is my personal opinion, not representing my company, okay? And I think we are trying to solve the problems of the new world with the old world institutions or approaches. We are trying to regulate everything, but it's very clear that technology is evolving and getting progress faster than the regulation side. And in all over the world, the regulation bodies, governments or central governments, they are trying to catch the latest technology, how we can regulate this and that. And till they can understand the technology is evolving another period or another level. Like we were talking about the FinTechs sometimes. Now in all over the world, the people are talking more the tech fins, and now they are evolving to the mega FinTechs. Initially, it was a financial technology. Now, later, it became technology companies. They jumped to the FinTech, financial or the payment part. Now, there are different companies working in a different operational field, like in maybe consumer good, maybe food stuff, that kind of things. But they have some customer base, and they are thinking that this is a, good asset. They can monetize. What they can do, they can offer some financial product to them, buy now, pay later, or pay from here, this kind of things. Okay? Which regulation body can regulate this area? This is a foodstuff company. Okay? Normally, it's regulated by some food and agriculture, that kind of ministry or regulation bodies.
Yeah.
And for the payment side, there is also banking authorities. And this is not a bank. It's a payment system. And banking authorities mostly focused trying to regulate the banking, conventional banking.
Focusing on that.
Focus for that part. Nowadays, they are trying to approach or trying to reach trying to understand what's the FinTech and how we can regulate them, from which perspective we can approach them, that kind of things.
Yeah.
And this is the reality of today's world. We are trying to understand with the old world instruments and institutions, and we are trying to get some solutions with old methods, old manners. I think we should change our thinking methodology if we want to catch these technology guys and put some regulations or don't regulate. I don't know. We should decide this. But as a cybersecurity company, I'm from the cybersecurity company, and I'm trying to follow what's going on in the defense side and the attack side, okay? And it's very clear that the attack side, they are collaborating between them in their parts very effectively than the defense side, okay? Just yesterday, I saw something. There is a very common, there is a bug bounty programs. When you design some product, you can put on some portal, and you are saying that, okay, when you will find some bug, I will give you some like bonuses, some money, some prizes, and this and that. Okay, it's an open program. One of the ransomware developer, what they did, they developed a ransomware, their product in version 3.0, and designed a bug bounty program, okay, and asking the cybersecurity researchers, if you will find some bug in this ransomware, just let us know, and we will give our prize.
Wow. So ransomware as a service. Maybe, or something. Great. So I believe emerging technology like blockchain, AI, FinTech, and others, it is like it's a new era and new domains that need a proactive action engaged with the cybersecurity, because definitely it's built by human and there is a lot of gaps, a lot of ethics, a lot of compliance need to be added from here. Yes, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in addition, I think that you mentioned a couple of things that I think are, on point. One, everyone's a FinTech.
Yeah.
Number two, I think it's also about, technology is moving so fast.
Yes.
And even now, if we look around the conference and we look around, across here, how many young people are here? How many young people do we have who have a seat at the table, when it comes to different decisions that are being made?
Yeah.
And, how fast are things moving at different age groups where decision makers are not aware of what's happening because they're not as close to that emerging technology as someone who might be, younger in their years. Not to say that, old people do this, young people do that. I'm not meaning that.
Traditional way,
But,
new way.
I think it's really important that we also think about who's sitting at the table when we're, making decisions and ensuring that we've got a truly diverse and inclusive audience that are, making decisions around product and strategy and everything else.
Great.
Including regulations.
Yeah.
Including regulations, yes, because definitely there is many parts of these technologies still not integrated. Cryptocurrencies, even some other related things to it. And the technology is rapidly coming very fast for that. And definitely I encourage everyone in this conference to connect and maybe come up with a vision to do some centric knowledge base or community-based to encourage these type of proactive actions before we be reactive, just waiting the attacks to come to us or waiting the technology to be mature. We need to make it mature by our engagement in this part.
Yeah. But we are not old, right? We are not old. Not
old.
Not young, as millennials.
We are in the middle, not old and not young.
Okay.
For that. If there is no more questions, really, I would like to thank you so much for our estimate panelists and guests and for the organizers and for you as well. We are almost on time, and we would like to thank you again, and a pleasure to have you, and we are happy to connect around during the conference activity. Thank you so much for you.
Thank you so much as well.